Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hey, is this Josh?
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Bob Kulick.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
No problem, my pleasure.
Well, awesome. Well, of course, we are here to talk about your brand new album, Skeletons in the Closet, which is available now through Vanity Music. I've gotten the chance to be able to check this out throughout the course of September, and I really love what you're doing here, and it's great to see you coming out with some great original music and getting an all-star lineup for every song, and just being able to show off what you're capable of in 2017.
Thank you very much. It means a lot. Yeah, my solo record, my first solo record with my 23 guests.
Just to start things off here, where did the idea come from to do your very first solo album?
Well, it just seemed like, my girlfriend had pointed out to me that it was the one thing I had not done. Did everything else, produced and wrote songs and did themes for TV shows and, produced a wrestler theme for Triple H. With Motorhead, the SpongeBob song. So it seemed like I'd, really tackled a whole disparate group of different genres and styles and all of that, but I hadn't done a solo record. And so with her encouragement, she introduced me to Bobby Ferrari, the engineer-producer who I wound up using, and his fabulous studio, Vegas View Recording, and then was able to, with the aid of the original material that I had written with my former Balance bandmate, Doug Katsaris, I was able to entice the musicians and singers that I wanted by playing them some good songs and saying, so what do you think? Everybody wanted to participate. So, it was one of those situations where if you build it, they'll come. So we built it and they showed up.
Oh yeah, and it's so cool to see. I mean, there's so many great names that are attached to this, and every person who shows up on their songs, I mean, it feels so appropriate to have them on each song because they just show off everything that they're capable of along with what you're doing.
Yeah, it really worked out great. The casting, as you will, who sings what, who plays what, really worked out well, as you say. Very excited about the way the new material came out. Not that there's anything wrong with the retrospective stuff, but the new material, obviously, I'm more excited about because it's newer.
And with that, when it was focused on the newer material, how long did you have these songs in mind for anything that you were doing in the past, or when you came up with the idea of doing a solo album, you started writing for it that way?
Well, I was writing some material to see what would happen, and once one was done, it was like, well, let's move to the second one. Fortunately, I had demoed up the material, so it sounded good. And then when I sent it to Doug, who, like I said, the co-writer from Balance, he was able to put, vocals and some keyboards on. And then it sounded like a mini record already, except, his vocals are as good as he is as a singer, not a named singer. So then it came time to play the songs for everybody, and it just clicked with everyone. Everyone felt positive about it. And I used the right people on the right tracks. Some of it was obvious. My brother co-wrote Not Before You, so he wanted to play bass on that. I was like, well, that makes sense. And then, Brent Fitz, his old Union bandmate, to play drums. So that made sense. So, a lot of it just worked out.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to hear that too. I mean, when you make these collaborations together, I mean, it's great knowing that everybody knows what parts they want to be able to do. I mean, if they do happen to write a part of it like your brother did, being able to play bass on that and being able to show it off in such a way, and just everyone fitting in their parts so naturally. I mean, it feels like every song was meant to have those musicians on it.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's kind of scary.
So, along with the newer material, you also have some retrospective stuff as well. Where did the idea come to add that to the list of new material?
When it was pointed out to me that even with the cover song of Goldfinger attached, it was like, great, I have a 5-song EP. Everybody was like, well, it would be better if you had a whole record. And then, several people mentioned to me, what about those great songs that got overlooked? I was like, interesting. So I played this stuff for Bobby Ferrari, my co-producer, and he was like, these songs were recorded so well, they actually fit, they actually work, because those were recorded at great studios, as the new material rather was. And that's the constant of what is there, is that, in this day and age of everybody having their little Pro Tools set up in their basement with their garage band or, whatever program they're running, trying to emulate being in a professional studio, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't sound as good, and so fortunately all of this gelled together, the old stuff, the new stuff, and 23 different people playing with me all sounds cohesive on this record. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and that is the good and bad thing when it does come to technology, is that so many people who can't afford getting into a studio are able to get a decent size computer set up and are able to record at home. But much like you said, it's not the same as being able to get a full real producer in a real studio and being able to show everything off that way, using real drums rather than sample drums, and getting real guitar amps and everything like that. I mean, being able to get into the studio and having that big collaborative feel like that always feels a lot more appreciated than just sitting at home in your basement or your bedroom or your makeshift studio and recording music.
Couldn't agree more. And the other bonus for this was all the guys that came to the studio got to see, as you see on the record, those pictures of that SSL, the solid state logic board that is about 15 feet long. That is, the big deal at the studio, aside from the room, a soundproof room like the old days. This was as good a studio as Electric Lady or Record Plant or Power Station or Abbey Road when I worked with Meatloaf in London. This studio really helped to create this record.
And with that, I mean, of course, besides all the songs that you've either co-written or bands that you've been a part of, you're obviously known for your producing work as well. What was it like to co-produce the album this time around?
Bobby is extremely objective and talented, and he was so excited to work with the people that I was bringing in who he hadn't worked with before. So here's Robin McCauley and Todd Kearns and Frankie Benally and Dee Snider and everybody, and he's like, wow, this is really great. So his input and help and ideas and, allowed me to really just relax and be the artist, which is what I wanted to do rather than have to do everything, But as always, when I play, I always take off my producer's hat. It's hard to be objective when you're the player. So in this case, it was really great to have somebody who really got the big picture of what I was going for.
Yeah, and that's really great to hear, too, because I know there's so many people out there who like wearing all of the hats when it comes to recording, making sure that everything's done exactly the way they want to do it. They want to be there for the producing, the mixing, the mastering, and everything like that. But when you are able to hand off some of that, I mean, obviously still having input, but being able to hand it off to other people to get work done and just being able to focus on the music that you wrote for a particular album, I mean, like you said, that's going to be a great feeling to just have to focus on that instead.
It is, but as always, I've always been a team player, so it's not like those other records, I just walked alone, I always had a partner, a professional help. But, in this case, it definitely made it easier, definitely took the edge off, and to see his enthusiasm towards the project really helped me to be inspired, because it took a long time to do, because we had to wait for the artists and just to get into the studio with it being booked and all of that stuff. But here we are, and it worked out great.
So with the album being out 2 weeks now, what has been the reception to the album so far?
It's been extremely positive, I have to say. People seem to really like the material, which is what it's really about. This is not me trying to be Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or somebody like that. It's not me. I'm a song-oriented guitar player. which is not to say there weren't solos, which is not to say that I didn't play solos on other records that were big deal solos. But for this, while there's solos almost in every song, and it is what it is, guitar-driven, rock/metal. I just feel that the musicality of the overall and the approach that I took of putting the singers out front, that's the real strength of the record, is the songs and the singers. You go through this record, and from song to song, who's singing now? Robin McAuley. Who's singing now? Dee Snider. Who's singing now? Vic Wright. Who's singing now? Andrew Freeman. It's Dave Isley. It's singer after singer who really could dish it out, really helped this record.
Yeah, and that is such a great thing to see, too, because I know sometimes it can be very easy when you're putting out your first solo album that you want to show off everything that you're capable of, playing-wise, song-wise, and all of that, sometimes going crazy when it comes to technicality like that. But what I really love about this is exactly what you said, making sure that the singers and the musicians are showing off in the right light, with the right amount of solos from everybody, the right drum fills in the right parts, the right vocal melodies in the right parts, and just writing a great collection of songs rather than just showing off everything you're capable of. I think that's way better.
Exactly, rather than sitting there spending 10 hours trying to do a solo that's beyond your capacity just to show off, I can do it, just keep punching in. This was all about the songs. It's all about the songs. And that's what I stand by, that I think I came up with some new material that is finely crafted songs. And the old material also are finely crafted songs, and that's what a real production will do for you, is really flesh out the songs so they all have their own unique personality and vibe, and in this case, players and singers. And it just became a labor of love after a while. It was just like, wow, this is really, we're having fun, and it's turning out great.
So how has this inspired you going forward? Do you plan on ever doing another solo album like this due to how well it's been received?
We'll see. I would say it's certainly possible. Seeing the response to this and that people really dig the format. So far nobody's just like solo album with 23 guests. How's that a solo album? Nobody's said anything like that. So I we'll follow the lead. If people, want more, I'll certainly be there to provide.
So, getting back into the recording process for the new album, since you were able more to focus on your playing for the album rather than having to wear all the hats that goes into making an album, how much time did it take you to focus on what guitars and amps and tones that you're going to be getting for the album?
Bobby and I, he would set up a whole bunch of different stuff, and I'd bring in a few different guitars, and we would both look at each other and know when it was, well, this guitar seems like it's perfect for this part. Okay, let's use this guitar. It's just, when you have somebody who really knows what they're doing, it makes it so much easier. And he was very good at getting sounds. There were times we used 3 amps plugged in together. It was very unique. His way of recording is, he's very meticulous. So we were able to come up with some really great stuff, including intros for the songs, and in a couple of cases, and outros, ear candy stuff. That wow, this song goes out and it's got this thing that keeps going, and it's very cool. So we even did stuff like that. So like I said, it was fun having somebody whose talent can give you what you're hearing in your mind.
Yeah, and that always helps too. I mean, sometimes it just working with someone, it unlocks an idea that you may not have thought of before, or they're right on the exact same page as you, or sometimes even if there's differences going on and just deciding or trying out both ideas and seeing what works out. I mean, it's good to have that kind of collaboration, especially when you're on the same page working towards the same goal.
Yeah, having the same vision, mixing wise, recording wise, all of it. There wasn't ever any argument about what we were doing, and then that's really good.
So with that, of course, with the album being out for a couple weeks now, and getting all this great press and reviews and everything that's going on with it, what's next for you?
Well, interestingly enough, three of the people on Skeletons in the Closet, Brent Fitz, Todd Kearns, and my brother, are all going to be appearing with me on the Kiss Cruise in November. So we're going to do an hour show, and it's just so interesting that, never did one of the cruises before. But here we are with my record, people that are on my record, and we're going to do a show on the cruise. So that's special. I also have 4 songs on the new Motorhead record that's coming out October 13th here, which is their Undercover record, a collection of cover songs that they did, of which I co-produced 4 tracks with Bruce Brie. So that's coming out. It's already out in Europe and doing really well, so I'm excited about that. And then we're looking at the possibility of doing some shows down the road. So I'm talking to some agents and some managers, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too, because, I really love how these songs are. I mean, I was just thinking in my head when hearing these songs on record, it would be amazing to be able to hear these live. So I'm glad that you do have the idea of being able to show these off, whether it's in the Kiss Cruise or being able to go out and do some shows outside of that as well to be able to show this off.
Yeah, it'd be great to be able to get out there and play these songs. I agree. That's the plan. So let's see what happens.
So with that, with this collection of songs, are you going to be playing anything else a part of that set as well, or are you just focusing on the album?
No, I'm not saying we're going to be playing the album on the cruise. It's yet to be determined. We're obviously going to have to play a bunch of Kiss songs. It was just the Kiss Cruise, and my brother's was in Kiss, and I played on some of the records. So, obviously we're going to have to do some of that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that would actually be a really good match with that. I mean, yeah, I can imagine that everything is still in the works, but, being able to show off what you're capable of with the new solo album, playing some of the classic songs that both of you guys were a part of, it's like, I think that'll make for an amazing set.
I hope so.
So, with the idea of going further down the roads, I mean, past the Kiss Cruise and getting shows lined up, did you have the idea of doing anything outside of outside the Kiss covers as far as other stuff when it comes to the album, or is that too far ahead yet?
Well, what I am working on with Bobby Ferrari is that we're finding some young talent now to work with. We found a 14-year-old from Florida named Jacob Reese Thornton, and he's extremely talented for his age, good enough that he could be in the studio with us recording. That says a lot. So, I want to keep producing and finding new artists, and that seems to be something that I feel worthwhile about.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask about that too, because, I mean, you have an amazing resume of different bands that you've been either a part of, written for, produced, I mean, so many different things. What do you look for when it comes to, up-and-coming music, just like you mentioned earlier?
Talent, somebody that can play, somebody that can sing, somebody who's got an idea about how to write songs. That's what I'm looking for. The raw talent. And if these kids don't make records and become stars, then who is going to take the place of those of us who are looked up to? Who's going to be the next Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton and Randy Rhoads and all Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck and George Harrison? Who's going to be those people? So that's why it's important to find new talent, to be able to create new idols for the audience.
And with that, I mean, obviously with having the talent and the skills to be able to pull everything off, what do you think it takes now to get that kind of recognition out there? I mean, is it through social media, or is it just writing a good song, or how do you think that goes about?
I have no idea. It's a whole different world now. Social media and all of that's way different than when I did records in the past with the bands that I had, so I'm just getting my feet wet as far as how this is working.
Oh yeah, and that totally makes sense too. I mean, the paradigm of the whole music industry has shifted quite a bit, but I mean, it is great to see that you are going out there and you are able to discover this talent and push them as much as you can and be able to show them off in a proper light, and being shown that playing musical instruments is still an amazing thing to be able to do and inspire other generations.
Hopefully so. Yes, couldn't agree more with what you're saying.
Well, awesome. Well, again, thank you so very much for taking all this time to be able to talk to me about everything you got going on. And, of course, talking about the brand new debut solo album, Skeletons in the Closet, which is available now through Vanity Music. Again,
it's available through the Vanity Music site. also on iTunes and Amazon, the usual suspects. So go and check it out. And Josh, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be able to do this. And even though there's so much I'd love to be able to ask you about, I'm so glad we were able to talk about so much about what you got going on currently and coming up in the future. I really love the new album, and I'm very excited about the fact that you are going out and playing live and representing these songs live, playing Kiss songs live for the Kiss Cruise, and everything that you got coming up in the future endeavors. And I'm very excited to see everything that you got coming up.
That's really great to hear, Josh. Thank you so much for your kind words. Really appreciate it.